You're on the clock with Tyler Jennings and Jared Perkins, a Prospects Live podcast for everything MLB draft related. Join us as we discuss the biggest stories from college and high school baseball, bring you interviews from your favorite draft prospects, and break down live looks with Prospects Live analysis across the nation. Get ready, because you're on the clock with Tyler Jennings and Jared Perkins.
All righty, what is going on, everyone? We are on the clock, powered by Prospects Live. That is Tyler Jennings, who is a now upset Panthers fan. Last week he was a sad Panthers fan, but we have upgraded. Tyler, how are you doing today?
Is it really an upgrade if I'm going from sad to upset?
Upgrade in sadness? I don't know. Just trying to go with it here.
I don't know if you can really say that's an upgrade per se.
Downgrade to upset Panthers fan.
Yeah, it's definitely a downgrade. There's nothing happy about it.
Yeah, it's just increasing your sadness to upset. But enough football talk. Let's get Tyler happy and talk some baseball. So we have a couple things going on in this podcast. We have an incredible interview later on in the show with Tyson Neighbors. Probably the best closer in the nation at KState. Really a cool interview. Get some insights kind of his pitch mix and the nastiness that makes up his pitch mix. But we have some big topics coming up. We have the winter meetings and we have some NCAA schedules getting dropped. Let's dive a little bit into the winter meetings first and start with the draft lottery. Tyler, I know you had some thoughts on that. So what do you got for us?
Yeah, no, the draft lottery is going to be this Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. We're recording this on Sunday, so depending on when this goes out, you either got like a 36-hour notice or maybe even a 24-hour notice before we start really getting the lottery. So. Oh, yeah, so it would be day of, essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like the lottery is definitely upon us now. I think the winter meeting started today, or they start tomorrow, one of the two. So there's obviously gonna be a lot of stuff going on, and like big thing, I think we've already talked about this before with Nationals. They're not eligible for lottery pick because of the CBA and the ruling that you can't have 2 consecutive years in the lottery if you're paying for. I do believe it's like a compensation or revenue sharing.
So that means they can't pick in the top 9, right?
No, yeah, the highest that they can pick is 10th. And obviously, like the Athletics, the Royals, the Rockies are the top 3. They have 18.3% to get the lottery. Number 1.
Cross for the Royals.
You'll probably get lucky. They'll probably put the Athletics at 6 again, like they did last year.
Here for
it. Poor Athletics. But I think the biggest thing that has come on in the past couple of days, obviously the Ohtani compensation pick news earlier today. The biggest thing that we were waiting on was figuring out if the Angels got under the luxury tax. And that's really big for the qualifying offer that Ohtani got and rejected. Essentially, the compensation pick they would have gotten if they didn't get under luxury tax would have been after the 4th round. As of right now, now that they're barely under, they only have to get I think it's a second rounder. After a second round, there's a secondary competitive balance pick, like little mini round, and then you have the compensation picks. They would be picking pretty much at the very end of the competition balance round B. It's better than waiting until around pick like 115, 120, but at the same time, like we're talking about Ohtani here. And there's already been rumors of him signing this week with someone. We don't know who yet, but the expectation is that he's going to sign this week. So like the Angels, for lack of a better term, they kind of messed that up a bit.
Traded all their top prospects too, as well, to get those guys that they all DFA'd to get under the luxury tax.
Yeah, and like I get what the Angels are trying to do. Like that's kind of their first real shot at trying to put together a contending team in the past 10-ish years. I think the last time they were in the playoffs was like 2012, 2013. But yeah, that kind of backfired on them a little bit. And now that Ohtani is essentially walking, I don't think he comes back to the Angels personally. Having a second rounder is the only compensation you get for Ohtani is not a great way of managing your team, in my opinion. But I'm not a big Arte Moreno fan, so I'll put myself out there on the chopping block if I need to.
Yeah, I mean, the Ohtani situation has always been interesting. When we get to On the Clock, I'll definitely have some questions in there for you related to that. But yeah, it's kind of, you got to be frustrated if you're an Angels fan, right? They make all those trades, they bring in guys, give you a little bit of false hope, and then all of a sudden they just tank right after they make all those trades. Giolito gets shelled every outing that he goes out there. The Guardians end up picking up Giolito and Ronaldo on waivers, and Max Stassi unfortunately suffers getting put on unpaid leave list, I believe it was, as he had some family issues going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a PR nightmare for the front office in some sense. And then going to the draft, they traded away a lot of their top prospects to get Giolito. I mean, you had the number one catching prospect that probably behind Ethan Salas and Edgar Caro going to the White Sox, and it's just the draft. They didn't have a strong farm system to begin with, and so you watch those guys get moved over to the White Sox, and then you watch all the guys that they got from the White Sox get DFA'd within a matter of like weeks. It's just not fun being an Angels fan. Probably like being a Panthers fan in some sense.
You really did not have to do that. But yeah, no, like, and the biggest thing too with the Angels is just looking at the lottery odds. They have the 6 best odds, the 6.1% of getting the first round or first overall pick. So had they have been over the luxury tax, I think they would have dropped 10 spots if they weren't in the top 6 picks after the lottery.
Yeah.
And like the other teams that would have that happen now would be like the Mets, Yankees, the Padres, I do believe are like the only 3 that are over the luxury tax right now. And essentially what would happen is if they get into the lottery by some random like appearance, like say they do what the Twins did last year where they get gifted essentially the 5th overall pick.
Yeah.
Their second round or their second pick actually would be dropped 10 spots.
Okay.
The team with the best odds for that right now is the Mets. They're just under the Angels at the 7th best odds. Padres and the Yankees are like right next to each other at like sub 1% odds. But essentially, if all 3 of them do not get a lottery pick, their first round pick is going to drop 10 spots. So say the Yankees happen to get the 12th overall pick, they get dropped to 22. The Mets get the 8th overall pick, they get dropped to 18. You know, it's the way that the CBA has now worked since the lockout happened a couple years ago at this point. We'll see. I think those are the only 3 teams that are affected by luxury tax. I could be mistaken. I don't know if teams like Philly might be affected. I don't think the Phillies are. I could be mistaken. I'll find out here in a second.
Yeah, I mean, as a Royals fan, of course, I hope they get number 1 overall with the good odds that they have. But I mean, the last time the Royals picked number 1 overall, I think they took Luke Hochevar. So
Tennessee Volunteers legend, Luke Hochevar, who wasn't even with Tennessee at the time. Actually, I think he was like an independent ball pitcher, much like Kumar was.
Yeah. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Like you've said, this draft class not as strong as last year's draft class. Still at the top, though, there's some names that you'd probably love to get, and the fall off after those top names is a lot bigger compared to last year's, where there was just so much depth in that draft.
Yeah, and like looking at what we have so far this year, if we were to combine both our boards together, like the prep and the college, I've been working on like we're going to be rolling out a top 100 update somewhere around New Year's. Maybe even a bit later than that now at this point. I've just had zero time with the way that work has kind of levied itself out with the Thanksgiving rush. And then I got finals this week. So like losing my mind over here. But yeah, just a little bit. But like if
Panthers
we had
helping with that too.
Stop. But no, if we can deal with the boards together right now, just with the way I'm like re-ranking everything, I could probably see the full top 10 being college guys. Now, I wouldn't say like, say the Padres get a top 10 pick, which they wouldn't keep. They have to get a lottery pick. I could see them going high school. That's their MO the past few years where they take one of the top high school guys off the board. They did that with Dylan Lesko is a prime example. He blew out and was still, top 15 pick. They could be someone that bucks a trend, but I think this year, just looking at how weak the prep class is, it could just be all college guys in the top 10, which has never happened actually.
And I'd say from like a Royal standpoint, they went high prep, our high school prep guys, high risk, hopefully high reward, and the first round in the competitive balance round. So that's a team I think would probably want to counteract and go college bat, especially if they're in the top 3 picks.
Yeah, go the anti-college or Chicago White Sox route where they took like all college guys from like 2013 until Noah Schultz, essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like just thinking off the top of my head, I know 2020 with Robert Hasselwood, that was the latest I've seen a prep taken since the January draft was abolished in 87. I think the closest one behind that, I think it was Derek Jeter in 92 was probably like 7th overall. That's the latest we've seen a prep, the first prep player go. And like over the past couple years, we've had that trend, or not necessarily a trend, but kind of like that weird, like the Nick Lodolo draft. He was the first arm taken off the board at 7th overall. And I think, what was that, 2019? I do believe.
Yeah, I think so.
So I think somewhere in that line, I think we might end up having our first overall top 10 college board. Do I think it stays that way? No. I think the just how wide open that it is on the prep side, at least. I don't even know if the best prep hitter has even like come onto the scene yet. We've got a lot to unpack in this spring, and like could be anybody that could pop up. Like Tyler Bell could be a guy that could go ahead and push himself up boards. Tyler Head could be another one that could really pump up boards. I'm not trying to pump up guys because they're named Tyler here. Like
he's got a whole list of them.
Yeah, I've got it pulled up right here. I can do that for you. But no, like we probably still haven't seen the top high school bat or top high school arm essentially come up into the public discussion yet. I think the arms are kind of as they are. Like, I don't know if much is really going to change there. There's some pretty intriguing guys. The bats, like, there's not really a big high-end prep bat this year. Like, Caleb Ballmer gets Brady House comps. PJ Milando, obviously, you kind of worry with the first base landlock if that happens. You know, too much pressure, or there's going to be a lot of pressure to really perform if that happens. But, like, it's just not a good class this year, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
There's a lot of reclassifications too.
There was Connor Griffin, Noah Franco, Cam Kim, they all came for 2025, and like just looking at what 2025 has at this point, I kind of like that class a little bit more.
Ethan Holiday's at the top of that one, isn't he?
Yep, Ethan Holiday, Coy James is a really good bat that's local here. Like Josh Hammond's going to be a really, really good arm if he gets command in. Seth Hernandez, like. It looks pretty good at this point in time. But I'm still like surface level with trying to break down the 2025 classes at this point. We'll put ranks up at some point. I really got to dig down deep and try and get that figured out. But, you know, at this point, it kind of does look better than what we have this year. Yeah.
If you had to pick today, who would be the number 1 overall high school bat for you right now?
Ooh, I wouldn't be shocked
if
it's Connor Griffin.
Yeah,
Connor Griffin probably. Like,
it's
just I like the thought of having a potential. He might be a corner outfielder. Personally, he has the arm to play right field. But I just like the tool set too much there to really say like at this point in time he's not the first overall high school kid off the board. If we went arm, might be that's a bit more of an interesting one. Like Joey Oki could be there with the sweeper that he has. Like William Schmidt's getting high regards so far. Like Will Heifer. I'm going to mispronounce his name so many times. I really need to ask him how it's pronounced.
Great Prospects Live analyst, by the way.
Yes, very great. Love Will. He's very, very smart. He knows his game. I love him. But yeah, like William Schmidt's getting a lot of regards. It's a very electric fastball curveball combo. Like I can see that happening too. It's so wide open on that side of the demographic that anything's up for grabs at this point.
Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting as we kind of progress and spring starts up, the season starts up for everybody. It'll be interesting to kind of see where things go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now we kind of go into another topic for the winter meetings, the Rule 5 draft. Some teams have full 40-man rosters. Others don't, and they'll be looking for potential guys that can kind of snag and play at the major league level. I got a list of a couple guys that I want to touch on. I don't know if there's anybody that kind of popped up on the board for you.
I haven't taken enough time to look at it, my guy. This might just be you.
No, it's good. So one name that I'm really thinking of is Cameron Misner. He was a competitive balance pick in 2019 by the Marlins. Now is with the Rays after they acquired him via trade. Just an interesting guy. Has always had loud tools, whether it's speed, power. Just the hit tool just hasn't kind of progressed as a lot of people have expected. Playing in AAA last year, has a lot of potential. There's someone could take him and take a shot to see what he could do at the major league level. But I think, as you mentioned before we even got on the podcast, he was sporting over a 35% strikeout rate, which you don't want to see. But you never know.
Yeah, no, and like with Misner, the strikeouts have been a thing since college. Like it was a big thing his draft year at Missouri. It was elevated. I can't remember exactly what it was off the top of my head, but like sporting a 35% K rate in AAA is not the greatest thing. So if a team believes that they can get the strikeout rate down, I think Misner could end up having some value, but it's really tough to overcome that.
Yeah, I remember when he came out of the draft too. Everybody's like, "Oh, if he figures that hit tool out, watch out! Like he could potentially be something really good." And he just hasn't gotten better over the years. Another guy that I'm looking at, also in AAA with the Baltimore Orioles, Hudson Haskin. Orioles are just loaded with prospects all the time. They have a million outfielders, it seems like, at this point. Not the most exciting player, kind of a sum of all parts type guy. Hits for average, gets on base, pretty good hit tool. Not much power, decent plus speed guy, kind of a fringe arm in the outfield, but really good fielder. Someone could take a shot on him. I hear Royals fans all the time wanting to take a shot on Haskin, and I'm like, do we need another fourth outfielder? We have about 7 of those already. But he's a guy that's interesting, and I think a team might take a shot on him. And I know he was a 2020 Tulane guy, second rounder. But I don't know if you remember looking at him in the draft.
That was one of my first. Okay, no, I didn't. I thought I muted myself. No, that was one of my like first drafts. So like maybe like surface level, like looking into his kind of stuff. So not well versed outside of like the top 20 from that draft class, personally.
Yeah. And the last guy I'll just mention is just because I went to ASU, so I'm big one on this one. RJ Dabovich is a relief pitcher with the Giants. Electric stuff, really good fastball. Just, I think he suffered a pretty big injury. He's got a 70 grade curveball as well. And just one of those guys that could be an electric arm in the bullpen if he stays healthy. There's just the command struggles and some of the injuries I think are really what's going to hold him back. I'd be shocked if a team took a shot on him just because he missed most of last year. And I don't know when he's expected to return next year, but it's hard to pass up almost 2+ pitches as potential in the bullpen. Be interesting to see if his velocity comes back from the injury and those kind of things. But those are the kind of last guys I was looking at in the Rule 5 draft. Do you have anything else from the winter meetings that you're thinking of?
No, I mean, well, first thing, I looked up on Dabovich, and I think before the podcast you were mentioning it was like an arm injury. It was actually a hip surgery.
Oh, hip injury. Okay.
Yeah, so that was the thing that I kind of want to touch on before we get into that. But like, I think the big thing with the winter meetings is like, obviously a lot of guys going out there to get professional gigs. Like, Ryan Ferran, he's one of the more up and coming guys that I've seen on the app in the past couple of months. Worked with the San Diego guys. Like, he knows his stuff, and I've heard that he's going to be in Nashville for that. So I hope he does what he can to get a gig. There's a bunch of other guys who are doing the same. So best of luck to anybody that's going out there for a gig, and just have fun. Like, I would love to be out there. I just wish I didn't have to work at 8:30 on a Tuesday night this week. I'd be at the lottery trying to have fun. So
I know we got text asking if anybody from Prospects Live was going to be at the winter meetings, and it's just hard. I work full time. You work full time doing another job as well, and you're going to school. It's hard for us to get out there, but a lot of guys out there grinding away, trying to find a job. Plenty of opportunities. Like if you get a chance to go to the winter meetings, I heard it's awesome and it's great networking opportunity. So always an exciting time of the year. Well, as we transition now back to the college game, we've had schedules start to come out. I know you are very excited for some of the live looks coming down in your area. What series are you looking forward to most this season?
I think the biggest one, just like right off the rip, UC Santa Barbara coming out to Bowie's Creek and Campbell is a really underrated first weekend of the season. Yeah. I've already made the decision because I was thinking about going down to Charleston because Iowa's going to be down there. And I would like to see all three of those arms.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. Do I judge a 4-hour drive compared to a 20-minute drive to see what UCSB has in their stable? Matt Auger is really
good.
UCSB knows their arms, and it's really, really good. And I made the joke to Joe Doyle maybe 5 days before Campbell put their schedule out, and I was like, I might be dreaming at this point, but I would really like to have UCSB come out to the East Coast. I would drive for that. Matt Auger is a really, really good arm for this year. Hudson Barrett's going to be a lefty for 2025. Tyler Bremner's been up to 98 with a really, really interesting changeup this spring or this fall. And they're all probably going to be rotation guys. And now here we are, we're 25 minutes from my house, and we're going to have fun at Campbell. And Campbell's got some pretty good arms too. Derek Vartanian came from a JUCO. He's going to be potentially the Friday guy, and he's already up into 97, 98 with a pretty good breaking ball and a really good body.
Yeah.
That's going to be an interesting series to kind of watch out for. And then just I've made the commitment to where I want to go out and do the college baseball showdown in Arlington. That second weekend with Oregon State, Oklahoma State, Michigan, and Arkansas is just
loaded,
tasty on paper, dude. It is so good.
Yeah.
Bizana is going to be there. Hagen Smith, Mason Molina, Hudson White is going to be there. Oklahoma State's got a pretty good team. Carson Benj is really off the top of my head. He's a guy who's going to really, really rise when we do our re-rank here. Michigan got Mitch Voigt for next year. It's loaded, and I'm looking forward to it. That's a really, really good 1-2 punch to start the year. So I'm interested to see what you've got planned. I want to kind of salivate because you got West Virginia not too far away.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I had always gone to Maryland the most, but this year they've kind of taken a step back. They did really well kind of in the transfer portal. He did well getting some guys to kind of fill some of those gaps in Maryland. But the big series that are really coming out early on, there's not much, right? You have Hofstra playing Virginia, and I think it's Stetson playing West Virginia. So not big teams. Hofstra, shout out to Frank Catalanoto, head coach over there, former big leaguer, great guy. Trying to turn the program out in the Northeast, which is never easy. But that might be one that I tend early on. I think the biggest one that's going to hit in mid-March is Wake Forest versus Virginia. I mean, we've talked about how Wake Forest is a powerhouse. We've had Seaver King and Nick Kurtz on, two guys who potentially will go early in the first round, and they're going to be playing facing off against the Virginia squad, who's also stacked with a bunch of draft talent like Ethan Anderson, Griff O'Farrell, Casey Saki the third. So it'll be, second, not third. So it'll be an interesting series there that I'm really excited about. You mentioned Oklahoma State. They're rolling into West Virginia, so you get to see J.J. Weatherholt at West Virginia play some of that talent at Oklahoma State. I think that'll be a very, very fun series. And then the last couple that I'm really looking at is Indiana versus Maryland. I think we've talked offline about how kind of sneaky good Indiana might be, and some of the arms that they have there. So really interested about that series. And then KState versus West Virginia. We had Tyson Neighbors, who you're going to have that interview later on here. Get to see that, another good matchup there. West Virginia is about 3 hours from me, so it's not super close, but I'm going to take advantage of trying to get out there a little bit this year.
Yeah, and you mentioned that K-State team too. I love what they did with their schedule, by the way. I'm just going to say it here. Coach Hughes you could probably tell, from the rant that he had after being snubbed this past year, he's tired of the RPI and, the debate of who should get in, who shouldn't get in.
Yeah, Tyson
he's gone out this year. Yeah, he's gone out and done really, really well with the schedule. Like, first off, opening weekend, you got the Desert Invitational out in Arizona. BC, BYU, Cal is a sneaky good team. Georgetown, Grand Canyon, Ohio State, and SoCal are all going to be there with KState.
Yeah.
And then you kind of just look at what they have on like the non-conference. They play at Arizona State after the Invitational. Then they travel to Tennessee and Clemson back-to-back days in early March. You get Nebraska at home and away. And then I think the cherry on top here, they're going to be going to UConn and Northeastern back-to-back days in mid-April.
The best schools in the Northeast, basically.
Yes. And Northeastern
outside like Rutgers, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, like Northeastern is a sleeper for hosting a regional this year.
Yeah.
Like Mike Sirota, Cabral, there's a few other guys on that team that are really, really good. UConn's always a consistent threat up there.
Always a 40-game winner, it seems like, every year. Because of conference, of course, but they just roll through everyone.
I mean, you can't really control the Big Easting themselves, much like the ACC might do here soon with Florida State being left out of the football playoff. Besides that, no, K-State's done really, really well with their schedule. I'm excited to see what they do. And, like, I'll admit there's another really good matchup, like, second weekend of the season. I think it's West Virginia goes down to Charlotte, which is pretty big for Charlotte. Like, beautiful, beautiful ballpark. Coaches down there are very, very nice. I've spoken to them. They're awesome dudes. And they, if I remember correctly, they won their conference last year, and they put up a fight against Tennessee in the Clemson Regional. And obviously Cam Fisher, Cunningham got drafted last year. Wyatt Hudipole is a Met now. They have some talent year in, year out, and they do a really, really good job of developing. So I'm excited for that. For watching that from the outside, I wish I could be there, but when you get an opportunity like that in Dallas, and
you gotta go.
I'm an adventurous guy. I want to go out and try and do some more stuff other than just local stuff. Like, saw it last year with trying to go out and do LSU and Florida down in South Carolina, going to Coastal. Like, I just want to go out there and just travel, explore, have fun. I'm 25. Just let me live my life at this point.
Come up to the DMV area. We'll roll to some games.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. I would so do that too. I think another couple. Go
for it. No, go for it.
I was thinking of another really, really good matchup, like middle of the season. LSU at Tennessee, middle of April. I don't know if this is true or not, but Orange Lutheran kind of leaked their high school schedule the other day, and they had NHSI up there, like April 10th through the 13th. So it kind of falls on that same weekend, but like it's kind of hard to beat an LSU team.
Yeah.
Getting a chance to see them. So like,
anytime you get to go see LSU, it's like book it. Basically.
Yeah. I mean, it's a 6-hour drive to Knoxville, but like, I like the Knoxville. I like the mountains. The mountains are a great area to kind of like wind down, relax. Like, it's therapy for me at some points.
Yeah.
But
that's
no,
like Charlottesville, Virginia for me. Going to wine country, basically out in the mountains. It's really nice.
Oh yeah. No, I think we could have like a separate podcast episode just as finding like our favorite like vacation spots.
Yeah.
If you need a really good one, by the way, Finger Lakes in New York. Parents are from there. Very, very nice area in the fall and the winter. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere though, but like there's wineries and breweries like every single 5 feet. So if you enjoy kind of like being in the middle of nowhere and having like a wine or a beer or something, Finger Lakes, you're welcome for that, for the tip. But like,
new podcast, Vacation Recommendations with Jared and Tyler. That's going to be the new rebrand for us.
I will try and persuade somebody that Myrtle Beach is not as bad as people say it is. I'm kidding. Myrtle Beach is kind of.
Speaking of like, Charlottesville, I usually when I drive up to Virginia, I'll go up for a day and just watch one game and come back. But that Wake Forest Virginia series, I'm going to try at least get 2 games in for that one. I can't just go to one. It's just going to be too good of a series. I'm staying overnight. I'll find an Airbnb somewhere. I don't know. I'll figure it out. That's just, I got to see 2, because like you do 2.5 hours. You don't want to drive the next day again, 2.5 hours and back. So going to try to stay the night for at least one of those series, and maybe one of the series in West Virginia too.
Yeah. Is it weird that I have like my own boundaries when it comes to kind of traveling like that? Like if it's, I mean, I've done like from here to ECU is probably like an hour 15, hour 20. Like that's maybe like my limit in terms of
same here. Yeah.
Like going out traveling. Like Greensboro, I could do an hour and a half. Just off the top of my head, like I think anytime after that, hotel or Airbnb.
Under an hour and a half, I'll do daily, like under an hour and a half for sure.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is like making that drive, coming back, and then deciding, hey, I'm going to go back again the next day. You still got so much like video to uncover. You got so many notes to take. Like, you might as well just spend the money and just enjoy. Like,
I know.
And hey, if the scenery's good, go for it. Like I said, Knoxville with the mountains in the background, like pure bliss, pure bliss.
Go to a Saturday day game in Charlottesville, hit the winery after.
There you go. That's hell yeah. We do not advocate drinking, by the way.
What's that?
I said we do not advocate drinking, by the way. We are both of legal age. If you are under the age of 21, please don't do that.
Yeah. There are probably a non-alcoholic winery you can find somewhere.
Yeah, I just still think you get carded for that, though.
Oh, do you really? I don't know.
Yeah, we have non-alcoholic drinks at work that we still card people for. Even and like all the guests will say like, it's non-alcoholic. I was like, well, tell that to the state. Like,
yeah. I'd say the only other two series you mentioned Northeastern, Towson University, which is about less than an hour from me, finally has some good matchups coming. They have Northeastern coming, and then they have College of Charleston coming. So it's get some Cole Mathis, some Darian Pendergrass, get some Mike Sirota. It'll be nice to because I haven't gone out to Towson before because the schedule had just never brought anybody in. And so this year is going to be kind of the first year I'll get to try to go out there, see some games at a different ballpark, which will be nice. Waiting for a few other teams around the area to drop a schedule. Georgetown, George Washington. Be shocked if they have anybody big coming into town, but you never know. So those are like 45 minutes or less for me. So it'd be nice if they had somebody that I could kind of replace one of those 4-hour long drives with.
Yeah, no, I think the only team that I'm waiting for right now is UNC and NC State. Mainly because I made the mistake of not going to UNC this past year with Honeycutt still there. So I want to fix that one. But like I think in the past couple of days, like ECU put out their schedule. They got a nice lineup for the Clare Classic the first weekend of March that I want to go and see. Obviously, Trey Savage is a really, really good arm, one of the best mid-major arms in the country. You have a chance to go see that early in the season, might as well, because it's best to get the arms early in the season, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, it's like I put on the calendar Dartmouth and UPenn because Ryan Drabowski is there. And then I was like, I don't want to go all the way to UPenn to just go see one arm. Luckily, College of Charleston is going to Towson that same weekend, which is a lot better and a lot nicer to go see.
That's fair. But like the UPenn's got a pretty nice campus.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's like 3 hours to go see one arm.
Yeah, and maybe it's just like the cross country and track runner in me because I did that in high school and college. But like, the Penn Relays is a very, very fun event. I still watch it to this day. Like that's like one of the only events I'll watch in terms of like track and field and whatnot, other than like the Olympics. So,
yeah, I could also go to Brown versus UPenn.
I think I think Brown's the one that has the first female college baseball player.
Olivia Pichardo or Picardo.
Yeah.
I think it's Pichardo.
I think
she only got like 1 or 2 games last year, but she was a freshman, so hopefully she's gonna get a little bit more playing time or some maybe more at bats.
I hope she does.
Be interesting to see. Yeah,
I think she can definitely handle around. I know that for a fact. I'm pretty excited to see if she gets more playing time this year, and it'd be good for the sport, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think those are the kind of the big ones that I'm thinking of. Georgetown sometimes has sneaky good guys, but rarely. They have the new head coach is really trying to build that program, and he's doing a really good job so far. Edwin Thompson, who was at Duke, recruited Marcus Stroman over to Duke. I think he was recruiting coordinator at the time. So really interesting to see if you can turn that around. The only other team that's really in the area is Naval Academy, and I looked at that schedule and Not going to any of those games.
I mean, hey, you might be able to get someone like oh god, who was the guy on Army a couple years ago, or was it Nate? I can't remember. Boston Red Sox guy. I can't remember his name.
Oh, Noah Song.
Yeah, Noah Song, and like
Noah Song. Wasn't he
Air
Navy
Force
or was he Army?
He might have been Army.
Yeah, Air Force had Paul Skeens.
Yeah, I mean, Air Force had Griffin Jacks. That's like the one I definitely remember off the top of my head. And now Griffin Jacks is like throwing sweepers at 88, 90 at the big league bullpen level.
Good luck to you. Oh, yeah, there's another guy that I thought, didn't Jacob Herter-BC? He got out of his commitment to Army, I believe, or is with the Reds now. He's 25-year-old, got added to the 40-man recently this offseason. Yeah. I think he's another academy guy.
Plus, like Sawyer Hawks going from Air Force to Vandy too. Like,
yeah,
that's another one too.
Also, Air Force's coach is kind of a badass too. He's really awesome.
Well, I mean, you're the Air Force. I feel like you have to be a certified badass immediately from the start. That's like a prerequisite for the position.
Yeah, Nevada played Air Force every year because Mountain West Conference, which will probably turn into the Pac-12 very soon.
I'm pretty sure.
Speaking of conference, Jacobs. Yeah. I can't imagine, like, because what's left now in the Pac-12? Oregon State and Washington State? I can't even remember.
Yeah, it's those two. And, like, you know, I made the joke earlier about the ACC falling apart. Like, Florida State not making it today, that might be a ripple effect to Florida State, Clemson, UNC, just finding the next train to get out of the ACC at this point. Like, we'll definitely see later on if that does happen. If it does, we have like a full, like, have fun, here's a podcast of like the implications, or like see what happens from there. But like, I kind of hope it doesn't happen.
I could see like a lot of the ACC. It seems like all the ACC teams would either go to the Big Ten or the SEC, right? Because you got Maryland that's in the Big Ten, and that's close. That's a team that's like not far away from many of the ACC teams. And then, of course, down south, that's another place that you can get your teams in the SEC. I see like that being the two big conferences at least that they'd split up.
Probably. And like I don't know if the SEC would ever be a like just putting this out there for a thought. Like, here's Wake Forest, here's NC State. Like, I don't know if the SEC would kind of bite at that kind of deal. Which, like, not to say either program, like either school is bad, but like kind of think about it. Like, Wake Forest isn't really good at football. At least right now, they're not anyways. They're really just like, they're really a big baseball school at this point. And NC State's kind of the same way, even though they kind of pulled 9 wins out of their butt this year. I don't know how that happened. But I don't know.
Figured it out. Now it's time to put you on the spot after this tangent. Are you ready?
Okay. Bring it.
Well, let's put you on the clock. Let's get you going. Let's just close this thing up. We're going to wrap it up. We're going to put Tyler. Five rapid fire questions for you. Are you ready?
Bring it.
Who gets the number 1 pick in the draft after the lottery on Tuesday?
I have a strange feeling the Rockies are going to be the ones that end up with it.
Love it. Love it. I hate it because they'll probably pick a pitcher and ruin Chase Dolander for me.
See, here's the thing. I didn't want to select the Oakland A's because I feel like they're going to get dropped to 6 again and then like
take Jacob Wilson.
I mean, if they could clone him, they probably would. And I feel like if I picked the Royals, that would have been like too much of a homer pick. So like I think the Rockies might end up with it.
I'm picking the Royals, of course. Shocker.
Well, here's the thing. If the Rockies get Nick Kurtz in that ballpark,
that'll be a fun time for everyone.
Ooh, yes, it will.
As long as they don't pick another pitcher. They'd pick Chase Burns, and then we'd all be sad.
Yay.
All right, next question. Now that the fall is over, who's your number 1 college bat?
Number 1 college bat, Probably Weatherholt at this point. Really, any of the top three, like Kurtz, Bazana, Weatherholt, any of that order kind of works. But I've kind of let Weatherholt just because of the fact that all the reports of him at shortstop are pretty good. Bazana hasn't had that treatment yet because I feel like he's just going to stuck at second base. And then obviously Nick Kurtz, like you kind of run into that issue where like what position do you value? And obviously shortstop's going to be the cornerstone. Second base, probably number two. And then obviously defensive value at first base is kind of just non-existent. Yeah. So, but all three bats can all just like be 1-1 at this point, and they're all the right answers.
I'm going Kurtz just based on that foul ball analytics tweet you saw in person.
That had us cackling for us all like 2 minutes. That thing was insane.
Yeah. Next question is, who is your biggest riser after the fall?
Ooh, biggest riser after the fall. Are we looking at like anyone like prep or college?
Yeah, anyone.
Anyone? Okay. I would probably say the biggest one on the prep side would probably be someone like AJ Abernathy out of Georgia. All the reports have been really, really encouraging. He's a pretty twitchy guy, explosive athlete. Bat's going to turn a corner here in the spring. I think he's a good breakout prospect. On the college side, probably Carson Benj out of Oklahoma State. I feel like we were just a bit too low on him when we did the initial rankings. Everything's encouraging on that front. I think he's a bat. He's a two-way guy. I think he's probably going to have ditch pitching at some point, but there's just so much to like with the offensive package there. I think Benj is probably the biggest riser on the college side for me.
Love it. Next question is over under 90 Ks for Tyson Neighbors.
I'm hammering the over on that one.
I think
I have to hammer the over on that one. Yeah, I think I have to hammer the over on that one.
The stuff's too nasty. We'll get into that pitch mix. And then the last question I have is, where does Shohei Ohtani go?
Oh, man. My gut says probably the Dodgers. My fandom says let him go to Toronto or Seattle or something. Like, I would just enjoy the heck out of that. But in reality, I feel like the Dodgers are probably the ones that end up with him.
Love it. Love it. I'm going Chicago Cubs. We're going to end it on that. And we're going to get you over to that interview with Tyson Neighbors from Kansas State. You're really going to love this one. I know we enjoyed it. So see you until next time.
Peace.
All righty. We have another incredible interview here with On the Clock by Power Prospects Live. We have Tyson Neighbors, right-handed pitcher with Kansas State University. Tyson, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you. How are you? Pretty good. Just got done with throwing, ramping back up. I think bullpen start next week, so feeling good.
Awesome. Yeah, the first question we always ask guys, just because not many people who are viewing might know who you are, just give a little bit of background on yourself, your journey through amateur baseball, some things you love to do outside of the game as well.
I'm Tyson Neighbors. I'm a right-handed pitcher from Kansas State. I close. I can do long relief out of the pen too, but pen's been mainly my job throughout the course of college baseball and even high school. Outside of baseball, I love to fish and just learn things about, I guess, everything. Like, doesn't matter what it is. I kind of want to know everything about it and how it works, type thing.
Love it. You talked about being in the bullpen since you were in high school. How have you kind of embraced that role, that closer's role, and that closer's mentality?
I've kind of just always had a bulldog mentality. I grew up playing football. I didn't really know baseball was what was going to pan out. And grew up in a super competitive household. So always wanted to win, no matter if it's my little brother and I'm playing him in Madden, I'm trying to beat him by 200 points.
Have you beat him by 200 yet?
I actually have, yeah. I think I won by like 245 points one time.
How do you not rage quit?
There's a lot of crying going on. He was a lot younger. Now he's like 13, so he can sort of hang with me. I'm still gonna beat him by 20, but I mean, closer games.
Love
now.
it. Yeah.
Sounds like my household with Mario Kart. Jesus.
Yeah.
All right. So I did want to ask you this because we were talking about this before you even hopped on. Was like, do we think that you have a chance to start? Do you think you have a chance to start? Like, I kind of want to ask you, do you think you would succeed as a starting pitcher, or do you think you're just made perfectly for like a closing role?
I mean, I think I could definitely start and have success there. I feel like no matter where I am, I feel like I have good teammates around me, and I could definitely start and be successful. Just trust my stuff and play in the zone. I mean, even in long relief, I know it's not starting. I've got up to 71 pitches, I think it was, and maintain control, velocity, everything. But I think I best benefit my team and feel very dominant out of the pen. I feel like I can affect more games. Like I can affect maybe 30, 40 games out of the pen, whereas the starter, I can maybe affect 10, 12. I don't know how many starts in a year. I never even thought about it. But, yeah, I think I definitely could. And if someone wanted me to down the road and push me that way, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But I am very comfortable in the pen and know I can be dominant and successful out of the pen.
I gotcha. And then speaking of your stuff too, you have some of the best breaking balls in the country. Just do you mind just talking about the kind of stuff that you have, like considering the fact that you've missed bats at like a 70% clip with the breaking balls last year?
Yeah, I go at 12-6 curveball. I kind of spike it. It's this fall I was working on fixing my spin efficiency on it. So I got my induced vertical break to around -18 on the curveball. So cleaning up that spin efficiency was able to give me more depth, basically. So now it's still like 82, 86 and has like a lot more depth than it did before. And then slider rise, it's pretty gyro spin, harder slider, almost like a cutter, like slutter type pitch, kind of vertical, hard, 89, 91. And then four seam riding fastball spins like I think 25 to 27. It's like 22, 26 IVB.
It's wild.
It's a rocket ship right there.
And then I've got a change up, been working on it. It has decent depth and arm side, but it's feel like kind of day to day. Like some days I'll have confidence and like, hey, I could throw this. And other days it's like, yeah, let's go slider, curveball, fastball. So
do you have a favorite pitch you go to, or it's just like you love going to every single one?
I was talking to Coach Darrow, my pitching coach today, about that because some of the questions on like the questionnaires and stuff's like, what's your best pitch or what are you most confident in? And I was trying to figure out a way to like rank them because I want them all tied at first. Like it depends day to day. It's situational. Like sometimes I could throw my fastball every single time and have confidence and put it wherever I want. But the same goes with the slider. I could also put that where I want some days and have confidence in it. And then curveball some days feels like I could flip it in there every pitch. It's day to day, situational, how I feel. So it's really hard to say which one is like I feel is the best pitch because I've found great success in all of them.
Yeah, I mean, that's a positive, right? Having 3+ pitches, right? You're not feeling one day, you can go to the other two.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like they all definitely build off each other, like shape-wise and everything. So they all help each other be better rather than just a good pitch, like, I guess, by itself.
I mean, averaging 40 inches of like vertical difference between a curveball and a fastball, like, yeah, I'd say that works pretty well. I do want to ask you about your collegiate national team experience this year. That was my first chance to try and see you, and every single scout was, in awe, considering the fact that, I think I remember Mitch Voigt. You faced Mitch Voigt, and Mitch Voigt had no idea what the heck a slider was that you threw to him.
That was a curveball, actually.
That was the curveball. Okay.
Yeah, the slider that day was like. So that was my first live outing, I think, since we didn't make the college baseball playoff. So I'd literally thrown one bullpen up to that point, I think, and I was just going out there and like, hey, we'll see. I hadn't feeling catch play, whatever. And my slider and curveball were like kind of blending. And then like that second outing, I kind of had two distinct shapes with the 82, 86 curveball and 89, 90 slider. But that outing, I think like slider was like 88, curveball was like 87. It like made no sense, but they were moving. So I was like, hey, I'm getting swings, I'll take it.
It was like the dirtiest sword I've ever seen in person. And I'm just like, okay, well, they don't make that in Michigan. So
the U.S. national team was crazy. I mean, being around a bunch of guys that are really good at baseball, I mean, it was a great learning experience. Just able to talk to everybody, even the hitters, like see what they're seeing type thing, and just hear from them. You know, it's always good to hear from other great minds and great talents, and just being around them makes you better. So overall, it was awesome.
Do you still talk to anybody from the team by chance, or?
Yeah, I still talk to a handful of them. I'd say a good amount of them, honestly, more than I thought I would have going into it. Like day one, I was like, I doubt I'll even ever be able to talk to these guys. And then now, I mean, I'm talking to them daily, so it's cool.
Sweet.
And of course, my roommate, Kalen.
I was about to say, yep, Kalen, because you both made the team too, I do believe.
Yes, sir.
Was the first Kansas State Wildcats to make it, correct?
I think we had Craig Wilson. I don't remember how long ago that was, but I was the second one. And then it was like maybe a month later. It was awesome because Coach Hughes told me he was about to tell him. He was like, come up to my office. And then Casey got told the news and he was freaking out. He's like, no way, this is awesome. But like they kind of like doubted him from the start once he got there. And then he made the team. And then I think he didn't start first game, and like second game hit 2 bombs, and I was like, I think he started at third for the rest of the series, so that was awesome.
Yeah, let's say he did amazing in there. Yeah. I remember because I think he hit like the top of the wall off the first home run or something like that, and I was just like, okay, yeah, he's good.
yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, just wrapped up the fall here, I'm assuming, kind of going into the Christmas or holiday season. What are some things that you worked on this fall that you're kind of getting yourself ready for the 2024 season?
Yeah, so I worked on really spin efficiency on my fastball. It was last year around like 78 to 85, just depending on game to game, like kind of how I felt. And I already knew I had good spin rate and good profile with IVB and stuff. And I was like, well, if I can maximize it by getting that 95, 100% range and a lot of like clean fuego. And we have another one that's like leather, kind of like a baseball, but it's the same ideal, like clean fuego. And throwing that a lot and cleaned it up. So now it's like 99, 100%. So I'm getting that extra like life and carry on it. So, and then same thing with the curveball, just cleaned up a little bit of spin efficiency on that to get sharper downward break. And just refining just location stuff, you know. But mainly the spin efficiency was what I kind of attacked this fall.
Love it. Tyler, I'll turn over to you if you have any other questions. I only got a couple more, but.
Yeah, I think I got one more from when you mentioned football earlier. Were you linebacker, fullback by chance, or?
I played pretty much everything. I played like outside linebacker, free safety, running back, fullback, tight end, slot, quarterback, punter. It was ridiculous. Everything.
Can you play for the Panthers, please? Because I need a win. I really need a win.
That'd be awesome. That'd be crazy.
I feel like anybody could play for the Panthers at this point.
David Tepper, I'm 3 hours away. Hit me up, please.
One of the last questions that I had is kind of looking into the 2024 season. Are there some teams or players that you're really looking forward to playing, and what are some of your expectations for the season?
I mean, honestly, our whole schedule, we made it to where the RPI cannot be brought into conversation, right? We put ourselves in a pretty difficult strength schedule, so just going out and dominating and making no question. I mean, if you win 40 games, you're not going to be denied from the college baseball playoffs. So leaving no excuses on the table, like it's all on us. Like we're going Tennessee midweek. I think we have a couple other like midweeks where we're going like halfway across the country because it's hard midweek to play teams like in the Midwest with high RPIs, and that's just kind of I think what hurt us late in the selection last year. But like I said, if we had won 40 games last year, how are they going to say no, right? Like there's always those what ifs, but be undeniable type thing, you know. Just win enough games and there won't be a question, right? So
yeah. I definitely know the challenges of the RPI. I worked baseball ops at Nevada, and they won 42 games one year. Didn't make the college playoffs because they lost in the Mountain West tourney. So, yeah, strength of schedule is always huge.
Yeah, last year was a little crazy with with the last-minute selections and people who got selected over us when we had swept them and some other stuff. So
awesome. Yeah, Tyler, I don't know if you have any more, but
no, not really. I mean, just other than KState got robbed last year. I'll admit to that. That was pretty wrong in my opinion. Like, I don't think there's a few West Coast teams that probably should have made it in over a couple of them. Like, I'll admit I'm an NC State fan. I don't think NC State should have been in the tournament, but that's just me. But I would have loved to have seen you guys in the playoff last year. So you got my support on that.
We feel like in that environment, we do really well in like Big 12 tournament. We've come up, I think, in the semifinals back-to-back years, and it's just we know if we get in a regional that we're coming out of that regional. So it's just tough to have that. I think my freshman year, or I guess it was the year before I got there. Actually, I think it was a similar situation where they kind of got snubbed, and then last year. And it's just we got to be undeniable. It's like kind of what Coach Hughes says, like put yourself in a situation to where it's not in question. You're not a bubble team, right? You're even hosting. Like just be undeniable. So
yeah, and I'm sure like not getting in last year puts a chip on your guys' shoulder. So there's a positive, right? You can kind of carry that over into this season, motivate you guys to go.
For sure. Hold on, it just didn't feel like the season was over. Like. We got out of the deal. I think we shut out Texas 6-0, and then I think beat KU right after. And then I think our last 4 losses of the season were to TCU, but we were like the last team to beat them until the College World Series when they lost. I was like, after they beat Arkansas by like 20 runs or something, I was like, okay, maybe they are the hottest team in the country right now. But yeah, it was weird. We just thought we had more season left, and then show up to the field and see the selection, and we're like, wow, it's over. It's kind of It just took a little while to like set in. Like we don't have any more games, but be undeniable this year. No make it in question, and we'll have a problem with that. Yeah,
well, man, we'll be watching, and we're wishing you all nothing but the best and all the luck going into next season. And we can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us on the clock. I really, really appreciate it. And, good luck with everything.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. You have a good one.
You too.